Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of my mini crochet amigurumi alpaca. Too many words. So if you have missed the first video, in part 1 I showed you how to make the feet, the belly, and the body and the neck. So in this video we're going to finish and give him a little head, which will be nice. And also you're going to need to learn how to do the loop stitch. So if you're new to the loop stitch, I do recommend checking out my loop stitch crochet tutorial. I'm also going to add some ears and a little pom-pom tail, which I'm not sure is going to work as well in the cotton yarn, but it definitely works well in the alpaca yarn. So these patterns, if you are just watching this and you haven't seen the first video, these are identical patterns. They're just made with different weight yarns and different crochet hooks. So, but I'll put all the details in the description below. So let's get started and give this little guy a head. Okay, so we ended part 1 on the neck. We did 10 rounds of just one single crochet in each stitch around. So that was the last round, would have been round 23 if you've been counting. So moving on to the next round, round 24, we're going to rejoin our hook. And we are going to start off with a little chain 1. Again, don't count that as a stitch. And we're going to do one single crochet in the first 7 stitches. So starting in the same stitch, you just slip stitched into, go into there, do a single crochet, and we do one single crochet in the first 7. So 1, 2, next stitch 3, next stitch 4, next stitch 5, 6, and 7. So we do one single crochet in the first 7 stitches. Or was it 8 stitches? I think it was 8 stitches actually. So this is this is what I'm working with, my notes. So it's 8 stitches. So not 7. So we're going to do an extra one. So another one single crochet in the next stitch. So we do one single crochet in the first 8 stitches. Then in the next stitch, so where it lines up with the front, we're going to do 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So in UK terminology, these are double crochets. So that's 1, and go back into the same stitch and do another 2. There's 2 in there. Then we're going to do 3 single crochet in the next stitch. We do 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And sorry if you can hear the road noise outside. It's very rainy today. I seem to deliberately find the cloudiest, rainiest days to do my tutorials, which is great. So, and the road, it's a very busy road outside, so I do apologize. Next stitch, we're going to do 2 single crochet, 1 and 2. So 2 single crochet in there, and then we're going to finish up with 1 single crochet in the last 4 stitches. So you should have 4 stitches left. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we slip stitch to join in our first single crochet to join the round. So by the end of that round, you should have a stitch count of 19. And then the next 2 rounds, so rounds 25 and 26, we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So a nice simple couple of rounds. So we start off with a chain 1, starting in the same stitch, you just slip stitched into, we do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, keeping a stitch count of 19. And we're going to do that for 2 rounds, okay, so 2 rounds. So I shall do that and then I shall come back. So this is coming up to the end of the second round. So we've just done 1 single crochet in each stitch around. We did that for 2 rounds. So we've still got a stitch count of 19. Then we're going to slip stitch to join. Then move on to the next round. So we're going to chain 1, and this time we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 9 stitches. So starting in the same stitch you just slip stitched into, do 1 single crochet in the first 9. next stitch 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So one single crochet in the first 9. Then we're going to single crochet 2 stitches together. So I'm going to do the invisible decrease by going under the front loops, the next 2 stitches. Do a single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet 3 stitches together. So I'm going to go onto the front loop of the next stitch, the front loop of the next stitch, and the front loop of the next stitch as well. Yarn through, do a single crochet, then we're going to single crochet the next 2 together, going under the front loops only. That should leave you with 3 stitches, and we're just going to do 1 single crochet in the last 3 stitches. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and then we're going to slip stitch to join. And I think what I'm going to do now is stuff the neck part. To get some stuffing, I've done some of the neck, so just this little bit here, do a little bit of stuffing, and then we shall come back and move on to, we've got 1 more decrease round, then we're going to work on the loop stitches. So, okay, so I added a little bit of stuffing, and now let's move on to the next round. So for the next round, we do a little chain 1, and we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first 9. So starting in the same stitch, you just slip stitched into, do 1 single crochet in the first 9. So that's 1, next stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Okay, so 1 single crochet in the first 9. Then we're going to single crochet 2 stitches together. So I'm going to go onto the front loops only. It's a little bit fiddly. Do a single crochet, and then that should leave you with 4 stitches. So we do 1 single crochet in the last 4 back to the beginning. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then slip stitch to join if you are joining the round. You can always avoid joining rounds, you don't have to join rounds, you can just work continuously. If you use a stitch marker to remember where you are, because the pattern works out the same, just don't add chain 1s at the beginning because you don't need to. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to work on some loop stitches. So to begin, we're going to just do 1 single crochet loop stitches, and to do that we're going to chain 1, but we're actually going to turn our work and work anti-clockwise this time. And the reason for that is if we worked clockwise continuously, the loop stitches would end up on the inside, and obviously we want the loop stitches on the outside, so we need to turn our work. And we're going to do 1 single crochet loop stitches for this round. So we're going to go into that last stitch we just slip stitched into, go into there in the opposite direction. Okay, and if you're new to a loop stitch, I'll just show you quickly, but I do have a dedicated tutorial on how to do it. So, and what I do is you put your hook through the stitch, and then you just wrap the yarn, put your finger under the yarn like that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put our hook over the top of the yarn, and we're going to grab the yarn from there. So we're using our finger to create the loop, and grabbing that yarn, doing it slowly is quite difficult. So finger under the yarn, hook over the yarn, grab the yarn, and then just bring your finger over that, just hold it into place, and then you want that yarn that's on your hook to go over this yarn, and you want to bring that through the stitch, and then move your finger back to get that loop out the way, and then grab the yarn again and pull through to do a single crochet. So that's a single crochet loop stitch, but like I said, I have a dedicated tutorial on that. Hopefully you're familiar with the loop stitch. So we're going to do one single crochet loop stitch in each stitch around, and we should have a stitch count of 14 now. So we're going to go into the next stitch, do the same again. So we put finger under, hook over, grab the yarn, and then move your finger over so it makes it easier to grab that yarn. And going to bring that yarn through the stitch, then move your finger back, grab the yarn and do a single crochet. Okay, so I'm going to do that in each stitch around, keeping a stitch count of 14. Get your finger out, can be fiddly. Coming up to the last loop stitch on this round. It suddenly gets harder doing it on camera again. If you really struggle with the loop stitch and you want to make this alpaca, then you can just do one single crochet in each stitch around. And I'm struggling with this last one now. Okay. Instead of doing the loop stitches, you could always add some kind of tuft of hair at the end. And then what we want to do is we want to slip stitch into our first single crochet. So if I can find where that is, to join the round. Okay, so it's looking a little bit crazy. It's nice. And then we're going to do single crochet 2 stitches together until the end. So if you want to avoid the loop stitches, just single crochet 2 stitches together until the hole gets small, and then just sew it closed. But we're going to do single crochet 2 stitches together, but with a loop stitch. So if you're up for the challenge, I'm going to start off with a little chain 1, and I'm just going to do normal single crochets, because I think if I did invisible, it would just get way too complicated. So let's go back into the same stitch, which is slip stitched into, bring the yarn through, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch. But instead of bringing the yarn through, I'm going to do a loop stitch. So then bring it through. Then move the loop out the way and yarn over, pull through all 3. So what I did there is I go into the next stitch as normal, bring the yarn through as normal, but then on the next bit, the next loop for our decrease, we go into the stitch and then we create the loop. So this is fiddly because then all the other loops get in the way. Bring that through, then yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I shall come back, and then I'm going to do that for 2 rounds, and then I'm just going to sew the remaining hole closed, or maybe add a bit more stuffing as well. So we go into the next stitch, bring the yarn through, into the next stitch, but create a loop. It's very hard to do on camera. Move the loop out the way, yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, wish me luck. Okay, so finished there. I've just cut my yarn, and then I'm going to pull that through, and I don't actually know how many stitches I've got left. I just kept going until I couldn't go any further, and then I'm just going to hide my tail end and sew the remaining hole closed. So, and I added a little bit of stuffing as well in there. So I'm just going to go into the next stitch, and then out through the next stitch, and just drawstring it closed to the next stitch as neatly as you can until that hole is closed. Then we're just going to hide our tail end as neatly as we can. To be honest with you, you could actually just hang that down and just cut it to the same length as your loops if you want to. Why not? So there we go. You can cut the loops if you want to. They won't come undone. They shouldn't come undone. But I'm going to leave mine as little loops like that. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to make some ears and sew on a little face. So to do the face, let's get some black yarn. Okay, so we got some black yarn, and I'm just going to cut one short length and then one longer length. So a little bit longer. So for the short length, we're going to tie 2 or 3 knots into the middle on top of each other. So let's do 3. That's going to create a little eye. We're going to sew that each end into the alpaca, and let's put his eye roughly there. Not sure where. And then the knot will catch on the outside. Okay, go back in there again. So we create a little eye like that, and then just hide these tail ends. Should catch on the stuffing on the inside, and then if you just pull that, cut closely, the tail end should disappear on the inside. So do that for the other one, and then we shall make the other eye. Okay, cut that down. Okay, so we have, that should disappear on the inside. Okay, so we've got our first little eye. It's very cute. So the second piece, what we're going to do is we're going to create the knots here at one end. So leave yourself enough yarn here to make it easy to sew, and do 3 knots on top of each other again. And the reason this is longer is because we're going to use it for sewing a little nose. So there we go. So do the same thing again. Let's do the shorter end first and hide that tail end. So make sure the eyes line up, maybe about there. Doesn't matter if he looks a little bit crazy, because it just makes him look more cute. Okay, and then hide this tail end. And then the longer piece of yarn, we're going to sew on a nose. So let's go back in through there. I'm just going to come down here first, for ease of sewing. So the knot catches on the outside, so we've got his eyes done. And then I'm just going to sew on a tiny little nose. So you can do that however you want. So I might do this off camera, it's a little bit fiddly. Let's see how this goes. Okay, and there we go. I sewed on a little nose, which went not too bad, and I just did a little triangle bit of sewing, and then I just sewed one line down just to create a sort of like little mouth. So we're going to give him some ears now, so that's the next job. Okay, so for the ears, we're going to use the same yarn, and we're going to chain 5 to begin, and obviously we want 2 of these. Let's chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to slip stitch in our second chain from our hook, so don't count the loop on your hook. Your first chain is the second. Do a slip stitch into there. Then we're going to do a single crochet in the next chain, or a double crochet in UK terminology. And then the last 2 we're going to do half double crochets, or in UK terminology, half trebles. So a half double crochet in the next chain and a half double crochet in the last chain. You get this like sort of long triangle shape. Okay. And just pull that through, and then we're just going to sew that on onto his head. So we need 2 of those, and I'm going to sew them on, and then we're just going to make his tail. We're nearly finished. Okay, and there we go, sewed those on, made another ear, and you can sort of barely see them under the loop stitches, but he does need some ears. So what we're going to do now is finish up with a little pom-pom tail, and you can add some decorations, but I think because this is a much smaller alpaca, we can't really use the same pattern, but I'll write up the written version on the website for maybe like a little smaller version of the little saddle, but I'll definitely write it up for the bigger version if you want to make the bigger alpaca. So we're going to finish up with a pom-pom tail, and to do that we're just going to, don't need a pom-pom maker, you can use a pom-pom maker, but we're just going to use our hands. So what I'm going to do is just take the same yarn, so it's not going to make the best pom-pom because this is a cotton yarn, the alpaca yarn was much better, but we're just going to wrap this around our fingers until we get quite a lot of yarn. So maybe about that much. See if that's okay. So it gets too tight, and then we're just going to cut that, and then we're going to take, where you have to get nifty with one hand, so you might want to get someone to help you. We're going to take a short strand, and what you want to do is you want to feed that through, if you can, through the center of your fingers. Okay, like that, and then the other end through the tops of your fingers. Okay, so the ends are at the front, and we're going to tie a knot nice and tightly, as tightly as you can. You can probably risk taking it off your fingers now, and just pull that nice and tight so you get this kind of bow shape, and you want to double knot that, so really hold that knot down and do a double knot. Let's do this on camera. It's just makes it hard. There we go. And you may want to wrap them around the other side and do a double knot on the other side as well. A little trick actually for a knot that doesn't undo is you put the left side underneath the yarn, so the right side over the top first. Okay, pull that nice and tight, but then do it the opposite way. So you put the left over the top. It's much less likely to come undone. There we go. And then we want to cut all our loops and pray it doesn't come undone. It's very similar to using a pom-pom maker. So obviously this is cotton yarn, so it's not going to make the best pom-pom, but it'll complement our alpaca nicely. So I think I got all the loops. That's it. There we go, and then just fluff it up. So you can see this made a much nicer pom-pom, the alpaca yarn. But it's just got enough tail end there. Maybe trim down the other longer edge, and just use the other tail end to sew that onto your alpaca. So I shall do that, and then I shall come back. And there we go. There we go, there is our finished little alpaca, which is the exact same pattern as this guy. Obviously, this isn't going to fit because this would be way too big, but I will put the decorations for the bigger alpaca on my written pattern, which will be on my website very, very soon. So I shall follow, if you follow me on Instagram, I will update you when that's available. So, but I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you managed to follow along. So yeah. Tiny version, just goes to show you how you can use the exact same pattern and create a little smaller version or a bigger version. by using the same pattern but use different yarn and different hook size. So thank you for joining me in this tutorial. I look forward to seeing some of your alpacas if you follow me on Instagram. Don't forget to tag me at Happy Bird Crochet. I'd love to see if you make one of my little cute alpacas. So also in my next video coming soon, it's going to be this little Halloween special, this cute little Halloween cat. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. See you soon. Bye.